World is super complex and people seem to be longing for simplicity. This is showing up in so many areas of my life and work at the moment. Um, it just got sparked because I heard a story about someone doing a course and being quite overwhelmed with the complexity and the wealth of information. And I'm saying wealth because it's rich, valuable information, lots of it. And the idea was that, oh, we're building this complex spaceship to go on a very important big mission into outer space where, this is huge, but I don't even have the car to get to the spaceport yet. So there was this longing for simplicity, just to contain the efforts and focus them on the thing that actually gets you to the next level. And I noticed that in coaching a lot. A lot of coaches feel quite overwhelmed. And I noticed that in some of the trainings I've given as well. That especially at the beginning of someone's coaching journey, when you just get into coaching, you want and you kind of need a straightforward way of what is this and how does this work. That's why things like the GROW model, it's just a relatively simple, but at the same time quite complex and far-reaching process model for how can you take someone through the process of coaching. It's got a lot of criticism because of its simplicity, but also I think it's quite important that at the beginning that you start having conversations, and maybe you're not so psychologically versed or relationally aware, that you have something relatively simple you can hold on to, and that also your client can hold on to. Because if you offer complexity to someone who doesn't have the capacity yet to appreciate it or utilize that sort of complexity, then I think that overwhelm just creates anxiety, and that just creates a potentially paralyzed coach or paralyzed client, right? So there's a good argument for working yourself up level by level and then adding complexity as you go along. It's a bit like learn the rules first so that later on you can break them when the context requires it. If you throw yourself in somewhere with no rules and so much complexity, then very quickly you might get stuck. And that got me thinking a lot, right? Because I also noticed this in some of the organizational work I've been doing, and some of the organizational work I've been planning with a colleague of mine at the moment. The question is, when we offer philosophical depth and complexity in a space where people tend to long for simplicity and buy into solutions that are presented in simple terms, and that maybe make the promise of this being simple. Who wouldn't buy into here's a simple way to solve your problem? Less people buy into let's appreciate the complexity, and there's no clear way forward. We just have to start doing the work until we get there. I think that's much more the truth. But people buy a lot more into the simple solution. So, and I'm not quite there as in presenting a simple solution and then actually selling complexity and a challenging, difficult process, But that's how you solve difficult, complex, challenging problems. So this is again showing up, right? There's complexity in life, but also some things might be much more simple than we assume. And perhaps if we use Occam's razor a little bit more and really go to maybe the most obvious solution is the best solution. Maybe that's the solution we need to go for. So I don't want to overcomplicate things, but also I see a lot more oversimplification than I see overcomplication. So that's why I'm saying it shows up in various aspects of my life. So I guess my whole career and my whole being is a plea to appreciate more of the complexity of life, but also here's a reminder, not just for me, but hopefully also for you, to look at what's the next step. And do we need all of the complexity and the wealth of the richness of the complexity? Do we need that now? Can we handle it now? Is it exactly what we need right now, perhaps, because the simple solutions haven't worked? Or do we just need to build the car right now to get to the spaceport first? So yes, curious what you think. Yay for complexity.